The Public Safety Committee meeting to order Tuesday, September 9th, 2025 at 1:30. And first on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, number 3, public comment. Do we have any public comment today? Nobody contacted you or you? Okay. Number 4, approval of June 10th, 2025 Public Safety Committee meeting minutes. Motion by Jason, second by Yi. Any changes or additions? All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. We're going to jiggle up the agenda. So we're going to start with, where is it? 6A, Marathon County Sheriff's Office Canine Program Overview. And Troy Dyler will give us you want to come up here? He will give us a little history about the program and his beloved dog, who I had the fortune to be with, passed away a month ago. And when he got his badge and radar too, my husband and I were there to watch the ceremony. It was so cool. So my sincere sympathy to you, because he was a cool dog.
He was.
Thank you.
For those that don't know me, I'm Lieutenant Troy Dyler. Been with the Sheriff's Office for about 17 years now. The early portion of my career was being a canine handler, so I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. I'll be the boring part of it, and the guy and the dog in the back will be the exciting part. But it's good that you guys kind of understand where we kind of came from and where we are at now. The canine program was started in 2013. At that time, it had probably been like 20 years since we had a dog. I mean, there was 20 years ago, if not longer than that, they had a little bit of a canine program, but didn't really kind of take off until that 2013. The one thing that I'm personally proud of is our program is funded solely by, it's self-funded, so there's no tax levy dollars that go into the canine program. So we kind of bust it to fundraise. We're very fortunate that, we have the amazing support of Marathon County, the citizens, and a huge help is the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin. They help us manage our program. Besides the donations, like I said, it's self-funded, fueled by some of the various fundraisers that we do. We kind of have a big canine calendar raffle every year that, some of us kind of get the boots to the ground and kind of reach out to as many people as we can. That is where the majority of our annual operating budget is acquired through that fundraiser. Ultimately, the program is supported by the community it serves and the extra effort the handlers put in to keep the program moving forward. We do get a lot of generous donations that have kind of helped out. We've had a couple dogs purchased by some members of the community or some members from some foundations within Marathon County. Another key portion that I want to bring up is that back in 2014, the Norman Bradfish Foundation was created. And what that foundation does is it established an endowment fund that's used for any agency in Marathon County that has an existing or an established canine unit. And that specific foundation donates a portion of that endowment each year to somebody who's ready to get a dog. We've been fortunate enough to take advantage of that. Wausau PD has, and Everest Metro, or now Mountain Bay. So that's a huge asset. That's a huge resource for us. So, when I kind of hit it home that we are very fortunate, Marathon County, to have some pretty generous people and a great community, I mean it, because, we wouldn't be where we're at without them. So I kind of go back a little bit, date myself here, but like I said, 2013, we started with 2 canines. At that point, we had a hiring process, and we hired a deputy who was a handler in Columbia County, and worked it out to be able to purchase the dog at that time. So kind of moved on to 3 canines. A few years later, again, we had somebody in the community that was willing to donate for a dog. So that created a 4th that kind of covered all 3 of our shifts. And now fast forward to now, which is kind of crazy because you see the swing of there's no more handlers in my initial group that are handlers anymore. But, so we have a total of, 5 new dogs. Within the last couple of years, we were again fortunate enough, we hired somebody from Everest Metro who was a handler and was able to bring the dog back over. And so we have 5 dogs on patrol right now. And actually, we have 6 dogs that I supervise. The 6th being our therapy dog that works with our crisis unit, or our crisis team works with CART, and they provide peer support and support for citizens, residents, and our employees within this building. So it's something that's very dear to me. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. And we brought in a canine, and that's Canine Blue, and I will let Deputy Hoffman come up and kind of just give his little spiel on what they do and what he's able to do. So thank you.
Oh, you gotta take your.
Nope, we're staying down here. Seat. Seat. Oh. X. No, we're not doing that. Off. All right, I'm Deputy Hoffman with the Marathon County Sheriff's Office. This is Canine Blue.
Deputy Hoffman.
Oh, there's too much stuff.
No.
Oh, we're recording? Or
Yeah.
Just sit right there. Try to manage this. Or yeah, one of them. Deal. Off. Alright, sorry. Off. Relax. Alright, sorry. I'm Deputy Hoffman with the Marathon County Canine Unit. I've been a canine handler just over 2 years. Back in 2023, I got the opportunity to meet Blue. We spent 5 weeks at a canine school down in Iron Ridge, Wisconsin, so just north of Milwaukee. During that time, we learned how to do narcotics detection and suspect apprehension. So, fancy word for he apprehends and bites people. Blue here is going to be 4 in November, at the end of November. He is a German Shepherd Belgian Malinois mix. So he has all the drive of a Belgian Malinois and tries to combat it with the slow, methodical German Shepherd trait. So some days he's really up in arms and wants to go, and some days he just wants to lay down. Today's one of those I want to go plays. In that time, we've had over 100 deployments within the Marathon County area. I've been called out a couple times out of county to help with what they need. That's all ranging from narcotics detection, which is probably our main job, is sniffing cars for other cops, sniffing cars for myself. Other duties that he's done, he's helped with clearing houses for open doors, possible intruders. We've gone on a couple tracks where he's tracked suspects who've fled from vehicles or fled from houses. He has yet to apprehend anyone. A lot of times people give up when they hear a dog barking. I don't want to be on the receiving end of it. I don't think anyone else does. A lot of dogs are tennis ball dogs. So you see a lot of canine officers carry tennis balls. This dog does not care about a tennis ball at all. So I'll show you. Los. Blue. Leave it. He will fight tooth and nail to get this back. This is his reward. He doesn't eat food. He doesn't eat treats. I have to stuff his flea and tick down his throat for him to eat it. This is what he wants. This is the only thing he wants. And that's usually what he gets. My 2-year-old will throw eggs at his face. Doesn't care about eggs, doesn't care about bananas. Doesn't care about human food at all. I think I gave him string cheese once and he spit it out. I don't know. He's goofy. He cares about his food and his Kong. That's it. He stays at home with us. He stays at home with my wife and 2 kids. My wife can handle him, take him to and from his kennel outside and inside. He is a very good dog. He loves his belly rubs. You want a belly rub? Oh yeah, belly rubs. I can touch his feet. I can touch his armpits. I can stick my finger in his mouth. As long as he's got his Kong in his mouth, he doesn't care. It's his pacifier. So, any questions about Canine Blue?
I have one.
Sure.
So Malinois, when they apprehend or going after somebody, they hit him, and
Yep.
shepherds want to drag him down. Which does he do?
A combination of both.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're trained to bite and hold. They're not trained to, drag them down and start ripping them up. They're just trained to hold them there. So when they latch onto a bite to apprehend someone, they'll just hold them. If the guy tries pulling, well, he's pulling at his own risk at that point.
Where did you find a Kong with a string?
They're online.
Okay.
Like I said, he doesn't care about. I can bounce a tennis ball. I can hit him in the face with a tennis ball. He does not care about a tennis ball. He's just weird. He doesn't care about any other toys really. But any other questions?
Anybody else have a question? He's an awesome dog. No questions? Really? Maybe one of you need to run out of the room and we'll sick him after you.
Yeah, he's. Hopefully, he's got a long career ahead of him. Like I said, he's going to turn 4 in November, and usually they'll work until they're about 8 to 10 years old, and unless the health deteriorates, which I don't see any health moving. That's another one of those reasons why they've crossbred Malinois and German Shepherds is they usually have better health outcomes. Like a German Shepherd sometimes will have hips go quicker than a Malinois. Sometimes Malinois are just too crazy and they want to do stuff that'll injure them in the future. So, but
Go ahead, Deb.
go ahead.
How does he do with other dogs?
He hates them.
If you're at a house with other dogs?
Yeah, we have another dog. We have to keep him separated. He does not like other dogs.
Okay, thanks.
And these dogs are trained to be top dog, right? They listen to me, and that's about it. They don't want to be replaced by another dog or by another, animal of some sort. So they want to be top dog.
Jason?
Now, could he be used in like search and recovery, or if somebody goes missing?
Yep. So he's, like I said, he's a dual-purpose dog. So he's trained for narcotics detection, which is another sidebar to that. Is he's also trained in human odor, so he can track people like what you're thinking of. These dogs they can track people that are missing, but they're looking for the end of the track to apprehend someone. So there might not be the best option. But they're trained to track. They're trained to, let's say a suspect is running and they throw a gun or throw a phone or throw their wallet to ditch some type of evidence. They're trained to pick up that type of article, that human odor coming off of that article. Any other questions?
Anything else? Go ahead.
One question we had too was, what's approximately the range now for the price of a dog? And right now for the dog and the handler to train together, it's right around 18,000. So, a lot of our fundraising is keeping up with, the vet bills and training and food and, anything to go towards dog. But we also look at trying to plan for the future and look at that long game on being able to fund another dog down the road. So we're constantly, making sure we're aware of that and making sure that we can plan for the future and, make those right decisions. So.
Anything else? Oh, go ahead, Yi.
Thank you. the presentation was phenomenal, and especially with the dog here. So that was pretty.
I told you.
And being that close to one, that's pretty scary. But jokes put aside, what can the county board do to support this program?
I think just kind of continuing to, kind of do exactly what you guys are doing now and supporting, public safety. And, again, that's a difficult question, for me to answer just because there are no tax levy dollars that go towards that, towards our program. So, obviously we look at, trying to plan for the future and the one thing we try to do is just kind of, have that exposure to the community. There's not a community demonstration we turn down. There's not a community event that we turn down. We try to get ourselves out there and try to have people see, I guess, what I see and what we all see on just how important a K-9 unit is to law enforcement and to a community. And I guess if there's one ask, I ask that you guys do that for us.
A lot of times when we look for training, so we train twice a month. A lot of times we look for training. I look for opportunities to, there's a business there, right? Phenomenal business. There could be a lot of good training opportunity. Hey, you mind if we train here? Our group trains here for a day, and in return, we'll come do a demo. We'll do exactly what we just did for some type of community fundraiser, or like the best example is there's a pizza ranch or a pizza farm out on County Highway Q. I can't think of it. That guy, they do Thursday night pizzas. He allowed us to train there one day, and in return, we did a demo for one of his pizza nights. So that's what we try to do every time we think of these training venues or think of these opportunities to train, instead of just hiding in the dark and going to.
Have you been to any of the eastern or western towns meetings at all? Because I know Corey Gladden brought Radar to, it was an eastern towns meeting a long time ago. And of course, Corey's a comedian, so it was a really good presentation. But, it's another way to get it out there
I
too.
think we're at the Wausau Firemen's thing this weekend or next weekend.
Yeah, next
I think
weekend,
it's
believe.
this Sunday. No, it's next Sunday.
And just to kind of piggyback off that, so the dogs train twice a month, so that's kind of the national acceptance for the amount of training that goes in. So they train twice a month, and they work on all the things that they're required to do. So the drug detection, the tracking, the article searches, things like that. And every year they have to recertify. So every year they're recertifying and making sure that their skills are up to date. So it's not as easy as, getting a dog and taking them through the training and coming back and they're like a computer or you push a button. There's always things to work on, and there's always, there's that drive, I guess, to make sure that they're staying up to their task and that they're recertifying and doing all the things that they need to do. So, there's that side of it too, that there is that extra work that goes into it outside of just the 6 weeks that they're gone. So it's a big undertaking for our deputies. It's a lot of work outside of work. It's not 8 hours and go home. I mean, they're the closest domesticated thing to like a wolf or a coyote. So, everything he was saying, I mean, that's how a coyote or a wolf thinks. They all think that they're the top dog, and in the wild, they fight to the death or till one submits. And, these are like the professional athletes of dogs. So they're trained not to do that. So a lot of times, just like kind of human, sometimes two guys get together or whatever, and they, sometimes they get into an altercation over. It's kind of the same thing. So to avoid fighting, they just separate them or whatever. And it's a little bit easier, just like it is in the wild, when you have a female dog and a male dog. They figure out their order just like they do in the wild. And so, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit too. So, yeah, thank you very much for asking us to come in and talking about it. I could probably talk all afternoon about dogs, but you guys got other stuff to cover. So
You would have me at your side.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Dyler and Deputy Hoffman and Blue. Thank you so much. It was really great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Let's walk home.
gosh, okay. So which one are we doing next since we got rearranged?
We can start at the top if that works.
Okay, all right, 5A, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, resolution, or policy. 5A, discussion and possible action by Public Safety Committee. 5A1, discussion regarding 2026 annual budget development and policy recommendations from the committee, including review of mandatory discretionary program document and discussion of rates and fees.
So I'll just, this really, as the chair kind of alluded to, leads into your next item, 5B1. But just to give you an update as to where we are, budget preparation and development is underway. It has been underway for a couple of weeks. We're mostly through all of our initial meetings with departments. I would say we're through all of our initial meetings with departments, and we have secondary meetings to try to get us to make sure we get to a balanced budget. We're not there yet, but a big part of that is the discussion of fees, and you'll have an item on your agenda in just a few minutes where we're actually asking you to take action prior to the budget, and Jess and Dr. Schupner will walk you through why. But just to give you an update on where we're at with our budget development and specifically fees, based on the direction from the county board when you set budget assumptions, we are really looking to identify all rates and fees that are where a market rate adjustment, that is an adjustment that's consistent with the increases we've seen for personnel, that is wage and fringe costs, and increase fees by that amount. At the same time, conversely, we're trying to identify perhaps those areas where fees are subject to what I'll call market forces, where that sort of increase is not appropriate, and certainly where we are not able to increase fees based on state statute. Of course, we can't increase those fees as well. But that's the direction we're working under for budget development. And of course, if you have questions or comments, happy to hear those. We're pretty far along, I'd say, in terms of our budget work. Again, most of the departments all of the departments have been through for their first meeting. We have a couple follow-ups that are scheduled. But in terms of rates and fees, really, Madam Chair, if there aren't any questions, I think it does dovetail nicely to move on to the medical examiner's office to talk through both 5B1, and it will lead very nicely into 6B. But if Jess and Dr. Schupner can come up here, if
Right.
that works.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, sure.
Does it look like that we are going to have to make any cuts? Or are we, with the budget compared to last year, because we didn't have any money at the end of the year, what I was curious on is, are we looking stable for 2026 or?
We're certainly going to have to make cuts. I would anticipate, I've already referenced this at previous meetings, we're going to not fund probably no less than 8, and that's not including the sheriff's office right now, positions. The sheriff's office, we've historically budgeted for attrition. I wouldn't say consistently, but on occasion, we've budgeted for attrition. That is not funding all vacant positions, and certainly this year. I mean, it's going to be a large number. I'm going to spell all those out in my proposed budget, but most certainly there are going to be cuts. We're targeting those right now to positions that are currently vacant. I have always strived for, and I think Marathon County historically has strived not to directly pursue layoffs as a result of any budget work. But as I alluded to in one of your previous board meetings, the net new construction amount that Marathon County is getting this year, our net new construction value is 1.68. That equates to about $837,000 of new operating tax levy. There are some other things that can increase the overall operating levy, but in terms of net new construction, that's not a lot when you consider our payroll is well over $70 million across our 750 employees. So that amount of money doesn't even keep pace with increases we have for personnel. So short answer, there will certainly be cuts. The goal is always to maintain service level, but I'll give you an example. I know I'm not funding currently in our Office of the Register of Deeds, we have 4 positions. One has been vacant for a period of time. I'm not funding that in 26. We're going to work to be as efficient as possible and share staffing if needed. Not funding a position in the clerk of courts, not funding 2 positions in the health department, not funding a position in facilities and capital management. And I'm missing on a lot more, but UW Extension, I'm going to have a contract, make a modification there to the contract. Again, shouldn't impact things programmatically, but, and then we're having a follow-up meeting with the sheriff's office to talk about how do we fund the budget relative to attrition. So there's going to be a fair number of cuts. I don't know if that's more than you wanted, probably.
Any other questions? Okay, then we're going to combine 5B, discussion and possible action by public safety to forward to the county board for consideration, 5B1, setting of additional medical examiner service fees, and then 6B, an update from the medical examiner's office on transition and introduction of our chief medical examiner, Dr. Leah Schupner. So, you guys want to come up? Y'all know Jess.
Yeah, we can, I'll tee it up as they're walking up, but setting the stage, and Jess has a nice memo in your packet. I made it a little bit more complex than I needed to, which I know is not surprising. So there's a fee schedule in your packet. When we began our work to create the Forensic Science Center, there was always the vision of going to the state legislature because there are certain fees that the legislature essentially put a cap on that if you didn't have them before, you couldn't implement them. And the best example of that is our death certificate signing fee, which up on the screen is listed as $100. We're not asking you for action on that today, but that is foreshadowing should our request of the state legislature to allow us to implement a death certificate signing fee be approved and the law be changed, we would implement that. Similarly, our cremation authorization is currently set at $283. It's a complex statute that if it's changed, again, we can implement an increase up to $350. But Jess and Dr. Schupner are here to talk about a couple of other fees that we want to implement. And the reason we want to have action on this before the budget is, quite honestly, revenue. We have eye procurement and tissue recovery and other things that were always part of the vision for and that was a good pun. It was always part of the vision for the Forensic Science Center to implement those things. And we don't want to wait till the budget's approved to implement them because as the administrator, I push on things related to budget, and this is one, because it'll help us from a financial standpoint. So you're probably going to be hearing from us a couple of times. First is to implement a couple fees that Jess and Dr. Schupner will talk about. And then if everything goes well at the state legislature and they're testifying tomorrow, down in Madison, if that goes well, probably be back next month to increase the fee relative to cremation authorization and the death certificate signing fee. But we are being very revenue focused with the Forensic Science Center because, of course, the goal is to be as tax levy neutral as possible. We've always had a tax levy allocation for medical examiner services. We have dramatically increased what happens here in Marathon County relative to our forensic services. And Jess and Dr. Schupner can talk that through, but that's kind of the high level overview. So the action today is for you to move to the county board the implementation of a couple of new fees that Jess will talk about.
And can I actually backtrack a little bit? All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here today. I am so excited to announce our chief and introduce you to our chief medical examiner, Dr. Leah Schupner.
Hello, I'm Dr. Schupner. I'm the new chief medical examiner, as Jess said. I started back in May of this year, and we are currently, as Lance said, in full swing with operations at the Forensic Science Center. So we're able to perform all case types in-house. So not only forensic casework, but also referral county casework when referral counties request forensic casework, as well as private and hospital autopsy is something we're actively working on. So
All right. And I have an update of kind of where we are. Dr. Schupner has been the greatest partner, and we have been able to accomplish so much in 3 months. It's always amazing to look back and see how much we did, but I just wanted to share with you kind of what we were able to accomplish so far in our transition. So far, we onboarded 2 forensic pathologists, Dr. Schupner and Dr. Kate Schubert, and also a full-time autopsy supervisor position who is our main autopsy technician. We are currently recruiting for a full-time medical legal investigator. It was a current position that someone had resigned, so we are currently through that recruitment. We have an amazing candidate pool, and we feel very confident that one of our future staff members is within that pool. We were able to get moved and settled into our new facility. We had a successful grand opening event on August 13th, which was a huge success. Everything turned out perfect with that for those of you who are able to attend. In that time frame, we also corrected a lot of the construction issues. That's just typical new construction, I'm always told, but we were able to fix a lot of the facility issues, and the building is working fantastic for us for the most part. We still have just a few more little minor things to work on, but things are going really well in the building. We were also able to fully equip our lab areas. We're still purchasing some new equipment as we find necessary, which is all part of our budget, don't worry. I'm not asking for anything else, but we're getting that set up to be fully operational. We also went live with our new database system. We updated our website. We developed numerous policies and procedures, updated our letterhead and office documents, and we've done a lot of community outreach to a lot of our key partners and are starting to schedule a lot of tours throughout our facility and meet and greets with those key partners. A lot of operational accomplishments as well. We sent our welcome packet, which is our new county onboarding packet that explains our services, our fee structure, how to schedule an autopsy, to 37 Wisconsin counties, and we officially onboarded 4 of them so far, and a lot more have expressed interest to get onboarded. We're working on scheduling a lot of those tours and different open houses with the county partners, so they'll be able to come in, meet our physicians, and also get more comfortable with our process to start bringing in more referral county cases. We onboarded 2 donation agencies to use our tissue donation suite, and we're finalizing the contract with the last agency. Once that contract is finalized, we'll be able to allow all the agencies to come in and use our recovery suite for tissue donation for not only the cases that our office refers, but also outside cases to be a tissue donation hub.
Jess, when it comes to that, I have a question about that. So right now, we're just doing tissue and, what is it, eye procurement and tissue recovery. Will we ever be doing whole organ?
No, so there's a big difference between that. So to be you want to explain, you want me to?
Yeah, so in order to donate organs, you have to be a living donor. So this is somebody that's still currently in the hospital, and they're anticipating that this person will die, but they have to be on life support in order to keep the organs vascularized and healthy. So just in our office, we're dealing with post-mortem tissue donation. So things you can donate after death, long bones, skin, whole portions of the eyes, the entire eye or the corneas, they can take pieces of it. Heart valves is another thing they can commonly take. So it's only things after death that they're recovering that will be done at our office.
Yep, no problem. Yes.
When Dr. Schupner speaks, could she please go to the mic?
Oh, sorry.
All right, and then the last 2 things that we've been working on is our hospital contracts to get our local hospitals ability to do medical autopsies at our facility, that there's a lot of interest and excitement, and Mike has that on his to-do list, so he's working through that right now. He has been a great helper to us as we're getting all this set up. And then we've also were able to accept a private family request, which was huge that this family greatly benefited from, and it made a huge impact to their family medical history. So I'm super proud that we were able to bring that together for them. But we are also open to accept other private family events, or not events, situations where they need an autopsy or some sort of forensic work. So that's kind of just a overview of everything that we've accomplished in just 3 months, which is crazy to think.
I want to say, in terms of number of autopsies we've completed so far between myself and Dr. Schubert, around 45.
Wow, that's a lot in that little bit of time. I have excuse me. Go ahead, Nick.
So as far as the fees are concerned, Is that passed on to the next living relative, or is that billed out? What does the fee structure actually look like, and how is those funds collected?
Perfect. I'll get to the fee structure. I just was doing that overall operation, so I'll discuss that a little bit. I'll make sure I answer your question as well. So our fee structure, as Administrator Leonard had suggested, we had the majority of these fees previously approved when we did the office transition in May. So the only additional fees that we are asking for is a facility use fee, the transportation fee, private autopsy fees, and the miscellaneous sliding scale fee for pathology services. All the other fees have been previously approved. So these fees, facility use fee, that fee does not go towards any family. That is just for the tissue procurement organizations that will be utilizing our space for that. And that is a typical fee that is charged for them using spaces at coroner medical examiner offices. The transportation is we needed to have a fee for if there was a hospital death that needed to be transported to our office for tissue donation. So we had to have a fee established for that. Based upon what their needs are, we would look into expanding some of that transportation outside if there's a lot of need, but we just wanted to have that come forward before we would look into offering more like a livery service type for Marathon County, but that would be coming later. And then the private autopsy fee was something that we wanted to do in the miscellaneous pathology services, but we just didn't know exactly how much we wanted to charge when we first went to county board. So that's why these are included in this realm that Dr. Schupner was here, so we got to refine our fee structure. So none of these fees are typically charged to families, only the private autopsy and some of the miscellaneous pathology services. And those are situations where family is requesting an autopsy, not because we feel it's necessary. So those would be outside counties, no Marathon County residents. So someone dies in Oneida County, for example, and family really wants an autopsy. Their coroner medical examiner was not interested in ordering an autopsy, but the family wants to pay for it. That would be for what a private autopsy is for. Anything extra?
I don't think so. Do you just want to answer the question about?
And then for the death certificate signing fee, that is part of the legislation. So back in 2015, Marathon County did adopt a death certificate signing fee. And it was believe it was $100 at that time. And then the legislation came out and backdated where we had to abolish that fee. So we are only one of 19 counties in the entire state that does not have the death certificate signing fee, and it is a large source of revenue for our office. So that fee would be directly related to the family. However, if the family was a significant hardship case where the family qualified for financial aid for the funeral service, that fee would be waived in those situations, just as it is per state statute with cremation fees. And then the cremation fee, we are able to, if the legislation goes through, we're able to increase that fee from what it was on the date in the legislation, which was $250, but up to $100 beyond that. So that would bring us to $350. Both of those fees together would bring us around $107,000 in additional revenue, which is extremely important to help offset our operational costs. As you can imagine, having 2 forensic pathologists, additional staff members, part of autopsies, we need a lot more operating lab supplies, equipment, additional fees for histology. So all of those extra services, those extra fees would help offset those extra costs.
And if I could just add, that was always part of the business plan, was to pursue that. And that legislation change that Jess alluded to, a very similar thing happened for Brown County a number of years ago when they make the transition from a lay office to a physician-led office. The legislation was written to allow those fee increases or creation of fees that Jess talked about. So this is nothing new. It's really us seeking to have the same opportunity that Brown County had when it made that transition, because as Jess alluded to, and as Dr. Schupner talked about, as we deliver a lot more services, and we certainly are doing that, costs increase and we need to have revenue to support that. And as I alluded to in the budget discussion, there's not additional tax levy to do that. So, and this is nothing unusual in terms of the fee structures for similar offices. This is one of those areas I would say where we do have some market pressures. I mean, I could say, hey, let's set the forensic autopsy fee at not $1,750, but $17,000. And then we would have Dr. Schupner waiting patiently for the opportunity to perform an autopsy, but nobody would come because they would just drive to Dane County, Waukesha, or any of the other, Fond du Lac, any of the other counties that have these services. So we need to be in the ballpark of reasonable, and I certainly have reviewed the fees that Jess put together, with Jess and Dr. Schupner put together. Again, the reason I'm asking you to approve these and move them to county board is the sooner we can get the facility use fees, transportation fees, and private autopsy fees and miscellaneous service fees in place, we can start charging those and generating revenue.
Yeah, the one other thing I'd like to just add is having a physician on staff has made our office a lot more professional. In the past, it was always me or my team signing death certificates. Now we have 2 forensic pathologists signing all of our death certificates for Marathon County. So that is a huge change and adjustment. So there is all the additional work that's going into a lot of this is warranted for the fee.
Go ahead. Yuri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question I have is the proposed fees. I know that Administrator Leonard touched base a little bit on it, but how are we compared to the other? I mean, and it's probably a tougher question. But how are we compared to others?
No, so for our general fee structure, I did a lot of research before Dr. Schupner started. I called every single county in Wisconsin that has a forensic pathologist, and our fees are right in the middle. So we're not on the high end, we're not on the low end, we're right in the middle. The only fee that we're requesting for that's on a little bit higher end would be the increase of our our cremation authorization fee, that we're not the highest in the state, but we're on the verge of getting to be on the top area. But the other offices who are higher than us have board certified forensic pathologists on staff, so we can justify to go up to that amount.
Just another follow-up here. The cremation and death certificate signing fees are paid for by the families, though. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So the next question I ask is, I know that I'm looking at the annual budget that we passed in the past, and from 2023, and keep in mind, I also say this because of the fact that we have increase in services as well. In 2023, we had a $393,000 tax levy, and in 2025, it's now $545,000 in tax levy. Are we expecting any additional increases in tax levy in this for 2026?
If anything, it's just minimal. So we're still working on finalizing the budget, but we're not asking for a significant increase in tax levy.
Okay.
That we're hoping that all operations, the increased fees would cover our additional costs.
Yeah, because I guess the concern I have here is I don't want us to be taxing people through fees, right, to try and increase our budgets here. If we're going to do that, then I want us to potentially see in decreasing tax levy, and I don't think that's the route we're trying to look at as well, but I'm just throwing that out there as something for us to consider about for our future budgets as well. So thank you.
If I can add one thing, I think, I apologize for the coughing fit. One of the strategies we're going to use, I don't think it's reasonable to say that we can decrease tax levy. I'd love to sit up here and tell you, hey, there's a future where there's not going to be tax levy in the medical examiner's office. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation. That said, one of the strategies we've discussed is setting up the medical examiner's office in a similar fashion. It's not a true enterprise fund, but to have it operate in a way that has, I think the terminology I'll use is a non-lapsing reserve account. That is, if they do have a really good fiscal year or a series of good years, they'd have funds that would remain in a reserve that then, through discussion and board action, ultimately you could either have those fees and those revenues, I should say, and authorize their expenditure for direct expenses relative to the medical examiner's office, or I would hope only after a lot of prudent consideration, you could say, hey, it is feasible to reduce tax levy. But at least as we're in the next couple of years, starting up a business, which is really what this is, there's a lot we don't know. Jess went through a lot of at a high level, some of the challenges of starting this. And we could get granular and talk about some of the issues, challenges we've had with the building and just taking on that business and getting it started up. We've done a lot. I credit to Dr. Schupner and Jess about reaching out to counties, but we need to get them to come here. And part of that is building those relationships. We can't serve all of the counties that were part of the business plan on day one, because we need to get staff, we need to get the policies in place, new IT systems. So there's going to be this kind of growth period where like Jess alluded to, I do suspect there will be a slight increase in what I'll call levy support for the medical examiner's office in 26. My hope is we can plateau that. And if we have a good 2026, 2027, my recommendation is going to be to create that non-lapsing revenue account. So those funds are segregated and they stay there. They require board action to be used. Staff can't make that determination. But it essentially starts to operate the medical examiner's office in a quasi-enterprise fund sort of fashion, similar-ish to the solid waste department. Hope that answers your question.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the information. You mentioned that there would be a slight increase. Do we have a ballpark of what that slight increase would be?
Sure. Currently, it's about $68,500.
We have ideas to get a little bit lower.
We have ideas to get a little bit. They're one of the follow-up meetings that I referenced before. I will say we are setting aggressive targets, and it's an area of discussion. I'm not going to build a budget that I don't think is reasonable, but there is going to be a slight. I want to make sure it's reasonable and attainable. But my hope is by the end of 26, certainly we're very close to that full operational state where we're taking as many counties as possible.
Any more questions? You have any more? Chad? Dr. Schupner?
No, thank you.
Okay. Then I move on to, we have a resolution in the packet, resolution establishing fees for the pathology services. It'll be forwarded to the county board, so we'll need a motion on that. Jason with the motion, and Deb with the second. Do you have any more questions or comments? Anyone? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. And
Thank you.
I would like to thank both of you for coming. I got to go to the ribbon cutting. I know a couple of you were there too. I know Deb was there. Were you there, Yi? No. It was really, truly amazing to see the facility and to see what's available in this facility. If you get a chance to go over there, it's just a dream come true. So thank you both very much. Okay. Number 7, next meeting date and time announcements and future agenda items. A, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. Our next meeting is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 at 1:30. You have a question?
Being at budget season, can we just have something where we go over discretionary, non-discretionary? Just, it doesn't have to be anything too focused.
Sure, we can make sure that's in the packet. I'll just say,
that'd be fine.
I have to have the budget delivered by the end of this month. So certainly helpful conversation for the committee and the full board as you move forward with continued budget discussions.
I should have brought it up earlier.
No, that's fine. And it's actually in your last meeting packet, that list as well as the full comprehensive fee schedule from 25 was in that packet as well.
Thank you. Now I know where to look for it. Go ahead, Nick.
And if I could, as far as the budget considerations, can we have a section which outlines all new additional spending? And so that at the very least during the board meetings, we can go through of exactly where we're going to pull that money from as necessary, or if we have to evaluate potential cuts to other areas, to your point with discretionary spending and so forth. So could we have a section that's dedicated solely to the focus of new spending?
I would say I think the answer to that is yes, because that's in the current the form of the budget's not going to substantially change from what was in 2025 in terms of what it looks like. It will identify 2025 levy spend, 2026 levy spend, so you'll be able to see and overall budget expenditures by department. So if you take a look at the 2025 adopted budget, or the 2025 annual budget document that's available on the website, it's going to be fundamentally similar in terms of format.
Anything else? Okay, and we'll move on to number 8. If you want to go home. Motion from me, second from Jason. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thanks, everyone.